Okay, everyone. So this is just a real quick recap. So if you haven't watched the previous couple of weeks' videos, I would obviously suggest that you go back to look at them to kind of talk you through what we're working on. But I'm just going to really quickly run through the project and kind of demonstrate like what we have going on so far. If you want any details on how this stuff was set up or why it was set up, the previous couple of weeks of videos will kind of talk you through that. So this is Unreal project that I'm kind of working in at the minute. We have a couple of different maps in here, a couple of different levels. So we've got main menu, we've got splash screen. So if we open up splash screen and we go into the level blueprint, all that splash screen does is whenever it starts, it makes a menu, it adds it to the viewport, and then it makes our mouse cursor available. Okay, so whenever we hit play on that, this is what it looks like. So it's kind of like you could have a company logo here, you could have whatever you wanted here. Then from there, it transitions into another level. Now that's not actually being handled inside the level blueprint for Splash. It's actually being handled inside that first widget. Okay, so if I double click on that, I can come in and look at it. So here we have a little canvas panel, and we've got some text that has like a little bit of animation set there. So it fades in, and then it fades out. But if we go into the graph editor, what happens here is whenever this widget gets constructed, so whenever it gets called inside that level blueprint, it plays that animation, so fades it in, fades it out, and that's something that we just saw take place there. Now once that's finished the animation, so it says whenever this animation's finished, run this little event here called remove one and load two. So basically what it does is it removes this widget from the parent, and then it opens a level called main menu. So we're actually transitioning from one level to the other there. So if we go to main menu, we've got like a little kind of scene blocked out at the minute. And if I just kind of move around, so we've got a couple of cameras in here, and we've got a thing called a camera controller, which is something that I kind of went into detail on how to set up last week. And if we open this level blueprint, we'll notice a similar thing happens. So on event begin play, it creates a widget called second menu, adds it to the viewport, and then makes our mouse cursor available as well. The next thing it does is it just makes sure that we're using the right camera, because we've got like different cameras in here. So that's kind of covered quite a bit of detail last week. But in order to kind of see how it works, if we hit play, you'll notice now menu 2 gets appeared. We've got this on screen, and now we've got some function here where if we click on how to play, we transition to a different camera. We can then transition back. If we hit quit, we can obviously quit the game. So if we have a quick look at that, so it's called second menu. Again, my naming conventions aren't the best. So in our graph editor here, we've got some functions put in for these buttons. So these are the buttons here that we've got dropped inside our view here. Inside the buttons as well, we've got the different states set up. So remember, we kind of talked about that last week in terms of like making sure you know what your buttons are going to look like. So a common kind of issue that we've had from a lot of people over the last week is they say whenever they hover their buttons that they disappear. And the reason that's happening is you've set one state, but you've not set the rest. So even if you set all the states to be the same, your buttons will still remain on screen whenever you hover over them. So then we've just got some basic scripting in place for them. So when you click on the start, it does a print string saying play screen. That would obviously normally open a level. When we click on how to, it gets rid of this widget. It makes a new widget on screen, adds it to the viewport, and then it does this thing called move camera. And move camera is something I set up last week where I tell it which camera I want to transition between. So that's kind of where we are at the minute. So obviously the next thing that we want to do is we want to have like some type of level that we can load, rather than when you click start, it just says play game. We want to have like some type of level in place now where whenever we click start, it'll open up that level and drop us into it. And the other thing that we want to do then is we want to make sure that we've got some type of HUD. So the HUD that we're going to set up today is very basic. Obviously you guys, when you're designing yours, have probably spent a lot more time working on how they're going to look and stuff. But I'm just going to look at the functionality of a HUD and how we can quickly set it up and we can quickly test some stuff. So remember, for your ICA for game interface design, you don't have to make a fully functioning game. You just have to simulate a game working. So what you're getting kind of graded on is your ability to plan and develop a menu system, plan it out, make sure it kind of looks really nice, And then the functionality, a lot of it can be simulated as well. So don't worry about making an entire level to kind of demonstrate stuff working. We're not really looking for that. So in the next couple of videos, I'll go into detail on how we can make that transition from this into a piece of gameplay. And then from there, we'll kind of set up a couple of different types of kind of common HUD elements. So we'll look at progress bars, we'll look at kind of including some type of text, and then we'll look at some in-game kind of interactions as well.